Back with us is Coach Drew. Now, I've been reading lately about the opioid epidemic. It's a heavy subject for any show, but one that we should still address. But before we start with that, I wanted to refer back to our last section here, dealing with youth and being self-aware. And I know that some are really self-aware, but I want to ask you the question, how can we help our youth that don't seem to be as self-aware, and those emotions are just so overwhelming and they're ruled by them, but they don't even see it? How can we help them?
Well, let's dig into the self-aware piece first briefly. Just because we are aware that we're having feelings doesn't mean we really understand what those feelings are about and are aware of the thoughts that are driving them, because that's what we want to get to. So even with children that aren't, and teens who don't seem as self-aware, what we get to do is help them increase their level of awareness. Right? Often we look at the behavior and then we try to address the behavior, but it's important to understand what's fueling that behavior. Because as we get an understanding by acquiring genuine curiosity, right, then we can do that learning piece with them. So help me understand what's going on for you. What's moving you to make this choice? How are you feeling? But remember, there's a difference between what you're feeling and what you're thinking. So you're going to work backwards. Well, how are you feeling when you make this choice? Well, I'm feeling sad. What's causing you to feel sad? What's going through your mind? How you're feeling? So literally labeling the emotion and identifying the thought. Because a lot of times parents, we want to fix it, right? Because it's hard for us to tolerate what we're seeing. But there's a beauty even in our struggle because our children are struggling in the same way. So when we learn to tolerate that struggle and hold on to faith in the promises of God in that moment, we're modeling for them. This is how you do that. It's okay to feel what you feel. That doesn't need to determine your decisions.
Right. Well, so basically, try to get them to slow down and pause and take those steps to analyze why they're feeling the way they are, and so that they can appropriately try to deal with it.
That's right. That's right. We don't necessarily live in a culture of reflection anymore, right?
That is so true.
We're just taking in, but it's important to really slow down and let's think. That's why I encourage journaling and even meditative prayer, things like that, where you learn to listen more than actually speak.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because I read a while ago that this generation, we receive so much information that we have all this information, but it's about 1 inch deep. We never take the time to be able to take it further and really think on it and reminisce on it and ponder it. And so you're absolutely right. But anyway, I want to get on to the opioid as well, because that's so important. We've heard a lot about it, and many are struggling with all kinds of addictions. Parents have lost children, and there are no easy, quick fixes. But how can a parent or even a friend help a teenager who's struggling with addiction, Drew?
There's going to be a number of different roles depending on your proximity with the family, with that teen, with the parents. So it will vary. But one of the things that's really important, if you have enough access, is to see the person. Never lose sight of the person. Understanding who they are and valuing them. Because when you speak to them and you speak to who they are as people, as unique individuals, and you are able to see who they are, who God made them to be, there's a recognition that comes with time, of course. But that's a really important and pivotal role that we can play in people's lives, speaking to the value that they have. Whether or not they're effectively living it out, it is still there, and that's really important.
I think that's really an important point that you made, not to look at them as an issue. They are a person. I think we always need to be reminded of that, because we can be so overwhelmed emotionally ourselves with a problem that we look at them as a problem, and they're never a problem. They're a person dealing with something.
That's right.
Thank you for that point.
That's right.
30 seconds with this question before I bring Mike in, but do you see a lot of this in your own practice?
You know, over the years, I've seen teens with, addiction problems, adults, male, females. It really doesn't matter. Again, at the core of it, There is always that sense of identity or the lack of awareness of identity. And that's connected to purpose and power and choice. When people believe that I don't have a choice or it doesn't make a difference, I don't make a difference. I can't control what's happening in my head. I can't control what's happening in the world. We lack a sense of safety and stability. So that's what we really want to target. We really want to help people realize, okay, anxiety is an emotion like any other. That's not the problem. The problem and the opportunity is to understand, okay, what's fueling that? Oh, there's a thought pattern here. How long have you had that thought pattern? Oh, that was there in this age, that was there in this age, that was there in this age. Okay, so what do you want to do about that? And when people start to think differently, they're thinking about their thinking, then they realize, oh, I can change this. It takes work.
It is work.
But it's worthwhile. Mm-hmm.
Mike, how about you?
Okay.
One last thought?
Yeah, I got a thought. Andrew, you know me, I'm solution driven, but I also know that you're a Jesus follower. I want you to just share, we have 1 minute left here today,
Sure.
what you say to people to bring in your faith in Christ. What are some things that you can share with teenagers so that they can be anchored in the fact that they are loved by God and that they can give their anxiety to Him? How would you guide families with that?
Well, the truth is, we've been talking about it all through our talk today. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and soundness of mind, right? That's an environment that we function well in. Outside of that, we don't function well. So God calls us to be strong and courageous, not to be afraid or discouraged, because He is with us, helping people understand that they're not alone, that God has a plan. God sees you. God is with you. God gives you power. You can address your thoughts. You can respond to life. You don't need to control life. You get to respond to life, and you have the power to do that. And that comes from God.
So wonderful to think on those things and be reminded of those things, not just for youth, but for ourselves as well. Thank you. So wonderful to have you on the show again today, Coach Drew, our resident youth and healing expert. Stay with us. The Word with Mike is next.